6 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hail to the king, baby.
Welcome, one and all, to the world of Stew. Hello and welcome to episode 64 of World of Stew. Now, as we have an absolute shed load of stuff to get through tonight, I'm going to do away with the usual pleasantries, although I am doing the pleasantries as we speak, so it's kind of an oxymoron. But I, of course, am Stu from World of Stew, and it wouldn't be a show without my co-host, who is the Harry to my Skip. It's Dave.
Harry to your Skip. That reference is totally lost on me.
That is a see no evil, hear no evil. No, actually, sorry, that is a stir crazy reference.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched those films, but yeah, I loved those films when I was younger. But yeah, I just forgot the names.
Yeah, so the main purpose of this week's show is going to be talking about the WWE and what's happening there at the moment. We haven't touched upon them since, I think, the draft was the last time we talked about the wrestling, wasn't it?
I think it was a draft. Yeah, it was a draft, and they were... Was it just about to go into SummerSlam?
Yeah, I think so. So we've got all that to discuss. But first, Dave, and we haven't done one of these in a while because 2016, I think you agree, has been an absolute, and pardon the language, a shitter of a year.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it?
Not necessarily, you know, we've not particularly had bad years per se, but in terms of the world of celebrity and people dying, it has been absolutely appalling.
It has. It's been like a celebrity apocalypse.
Yeah. So we were at one time earlier in the year covering every single celebrity death as it happened, but it was getting so out of hand and so depressing that we decided to just sort of only pick up on the major ones. Which brings us to the very sad news that 2 days ago, the legend that is Mr. Gene Wilder passed away at the age of 83.
Yeah, it's a ripe old age, but yeah, how can you sum up a legendary comedian of his caliber? Seriously.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Dave, because I'm about to try. Born Jeroen Sibberman on June 11th, 1933, to a Russian Jewish family, he began his career on Broadway in productions such as The Complacent Lover, Roots, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. During his run in Mother Courage and Her Children, he met Anne Bancroft, who happened at the time to be dating Dave.
Jack Nixon, maybe?
No, Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks,
Yeah. He made a handful of TV appearances before receiving some acclaim for his performance in 1967's Bonnie and Clyde. Now, I'd forgotten he was in that.
Well, it's probably an easily forgotten part, isn't it? I think with Bonnie and Clyde, you really remember it for Bonnie and Clyde, don't you? But he was, even I've seen, I was just watching some of his clips recently. I did see him in that, and just a very subtle actor, I have to say.
Well, anyway, 1967, in that same year, he got his big break as Leo Bloom in Mel Brooks' The Producers, a role that would earn him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. So, thoughts on The Producers?
Producers, I think, actually, there was a remake recently, wasn't there?
With Nathan Lane, was it?
Yeah, I believe it was Nathan Lane and somewhere else. But I have to be honest, I've never seen the original all the way through. I have seen bits of it back and forth. You know how sometimes there's a film where you catch little bits here and there, and I just love the energy Gene Wilder brought to that film. Because Nathan Lane, yeah, he is what he is. He's a bit camp, a bit can't think of the word, but Gene Wilder just brought his crazy energy and insanity to it. I love that.
By the way, in the 2005 remake was also Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick as well, was it? Well, Yeah, I think they've been on the Broadway performance as well, but still, not the first time I'm going to say this as well, but Gene Wilder was the original and the best.
Yeah. So, funny you should mention that, Dave, because I think you're about to say that again, because 4 years later, in 1971, he starred as Willy Wonka in the adaptation of Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which was retitled Willy in the Wonka Chocolate Factory for the movie. This is a role that many consider to be his best, and one that a generation of film fans grew up holding dear to their hearts.
Absolutely. I think, for me particularly, this was a movie that Saturday afternoons, Sunday afternoons, the occasional bank holiday, or Boxing Day, Christmas holidays, this movie would be on TV, and it was always watchable, and he was always just gripping as Willy Wonka. I think Willy Wonka is one of those roles which the actor needs to bring their own portrayal to it. And I'm going to say it again, I know there's a more recent remake with what you thought would have been a really good actor for the role, but Gene Wilder, still original and the best.
Two things about that film, actually, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Number one, Roald Dahl hated it.
Okay, that's not to be surprised.
Apparently he didn't like Gene Wilder's portrayal of Willy Wonka in particular. And number two, and I only discovered this today, that film is 99 minutes long, right?
Right.
He doesn't appear on screen until 45 minutes into that film.
Okay, well...
And yet, when you come away from that film, he is the only thing you remember.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think that's the opposite of the remake, where you kind of want to forget Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka, but the kid, is it Freddie Sizemore, is very good for a child actor in that role. But I think it actually works really well, because he's the character you need to be built up to. You need some kind of suspense to build up to first introducing the great Willy Wonka.
More roles were to follow in the likes of Everything You Always Want to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask, before he worked again with Brooks on Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein.
Now, Blazing Saddles, I know for a lot of people that's a classic comedy, isn't it? But how do you feel about it, Steve?
Do you want my honest opinion?
Go on in.
I've never watched it.
Okay, that's fair.
I know that means now that there's probably loads of people either tearing their hair out or turning off, but I genuinely have never watched it, and I am going to make a concerted effort to watch that film.
Okay, you know what, me too, because I tried to watch it once. I'd been told by a lot of people it was incredible, but I think half an hour in, I just gave up. I think maybe I wasn't in the right mood, but I think this is supposed to be like a great comedy with an amazing amount of gags, but badges, we don't need no stinking badges. That's supposed to be one of the classics, but I think you can really see the influence of Mel Brooks in this film, and I think Mel Brooks, sometimes he works, sometimes he doesn't. I think it's all to individual's taste, but like you said, Stu, I think I'm going to have to make a concerted effort to watch this film.
What about Young Frankenstein?
You know what? I watched this a long, long time ago when I was a lot younger, and yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a cool film. Again, I think Gene Wilder's craziness brings a lot to the film. I think that's one of the things you remember, especially.
In 1976, he starred in Silver Streak with comedy legend Richard Pryor, a pairing that would work together 3 more times over the next 15 years in Stir Crazy, which we've already mentioned, and a film that I went back and watched last night, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Another You, which would be his final feature film, and that was released in 1991.
Why did he stop making feature films? Does it, do you know at all?
Well, I watched an interview with him, and it's one of those things, and you don't necessarily pay much attention, and then when something sad happens, you start looking at it. And he did an interview in 2013 where someone asked him that very question, and he said that he would get scripts, but he would watch films, and it would just be bombings and shootings and swearing every other word, and he just hated the idea of being in that. So he fell out of love with modern cinema, which is why he never made another film.
That's quite sad, isn't it? I can understand that. It seems like he was in a very different place than modern cinema.
Well, obviously, as well, he married Gilda Radner from... I know her probably best from Saturday Night Live, and she died of cancer, ovarian cancer. So he devoted a lot of his time to promoting, trying to raise money for research to cure cancer.
Okay, that's a good cause. Very good cause.
So, following the release of Another You in 1991, he made only 7 TV appearances over the next 24 years, as he revealed in 2008 that he was semi-retired, and he actually said that he didn't like show business. He decided that he liked show, but was not a fan of the business.
Yeah, similar to a lot of actors. A lot of actors go in that direction, don't they? They like the working, but the business side of it can be quite horrible.
He was also a writer, and he penned The Woman in Red, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother, and Hear No Evil, See No Evil, as well as achieving 5 directing credits. In 1999, Wilder was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which went into remission but returned in 2005, which was cured by the way of stem cell treatment. He has, like we just said, passed away at the age of 83 due to complications following a battle with Alzheimer's disease that he's had for the last 3 years. And do you know why nobody knew about that?
Why didn't nobody know?
Because he, throughout his life, had children coming up to him and talking to him like he was Willy Wonka. And he didn't want the news that he was ill to get out because he didn't want children to think that Willy Wonka was dying.
Oh, that is so sweet. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet and so sad in a way. It's just amazing that an actor can be so selfless as to think, I'm this character, I'm this person, and kind of reminds me of, I remember Matt Smith once saying about Doctor Who. He was talking about him and Benedict Cumberbatch, and people always asked Benedict Cumberbatch, why didn't you want to be the Doctor? Because the BBC did ask, apparently, Mr. Cumberbatch, would you like to be the Doctor? And Matt Smith, and they both said, well, the thing is, if you're the Doctor all the time. Kids will come up to you in your street and go, oh, you're a Doctor. You go to conventions, and you're that character all the time. And Cumberbatch was kind of like, I can't really do that. I don't really want to do that. But Matt Smith just had that crazy enthusiasm, and Matt Smith himself kind of reminds me of Gene Wilder. They both have that craziness to them, which Matt Smith brought to the Doctor. Gene Wilder had in seemingly most of his films, and I do remember someone, if you can find it, I encourage people to find it on the internet, on YouTube somewhere. Someone cut together a video of which Doctors if Doctor Who had been an American TV series, which actors would have been the Doctor. And it's got loads of great actors. They said it's got Sam Rockwell, it's got Christopher Walken, and it's got Gene Wilder as the Doctor as well. And they've cut together a lot of little bits from Gene Wilder. And it just goes to show he's one of the actors which you could look at and go, you know what, he would have been great in that role. And there's so many. It does make me a bit sad that he stopped working so long ago, because can you just imagine what kind of classics he could have been in if he carried on working?
So what do you think of his work with Richard Pryor?
Oh, they kind of all blur into one, because I do remember in the 80s, growing up in that time, there seemed to be film after film after film. Obviously, there was only 3, but films with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, and they were all fun, they were all funny, they were all crazy, and it just seems like Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder were they just had that magic. I'd be really interested to know just how much of their films were actually scripted and how much were just improv between the two of them.
Well, that's something we will probably never know, because unfortunately both those legends are no longer with us.
Yeah, very sad.
So that was a quick rundown of the life and career of Gene Wilder. We can never truly do it justice, obviously. Just very, very sad. Willy Wonka's died. My kids were gutted when I told them that Willy Wonka was dead because they prefer the original.
You told your kids that Willy Wonka was dead?
Well, you have to, don't you?
It's a bit harsh, isn't it? Not the actor who plays Willy Wonka has passed away, but Willy Wonka's dead.
When you put it like that, maybe I could have thought about it a bit more. But they prefer the original to the new one. So, yeah, we will close the show later with a song that ties into Gene Wilder. But Mr. Wilder, rest in peace. Which brings us to the main topic of tonight's show, Dave. Now, we've talked about the WWE before. We've admitted that we are wrestling geeks, although not as much as we used to be. Although I have said before that I am currently getting back into the product because my youngest daughter, Megan, who's 7, she wants to start watching it and she's quite interested in going to see it live. So she's got her favourites now. Enzo and Cass are a team that she particularly likes. And we have talked about the draft, and that led into SummerSlam, which of course is the third of the big 4 WWE pay-per-views.
Now, would you agree? I believe that SummerSlam is the second most important. I don't know about you. I think it goes WrestleMania as obviously the big show of the year, and then you get SummerSlam, which is the next biggest show of the year, and then you've got Survivor Series and Royal Rumble, but those are really just lead ups to WrestleMania.
See, I just quite enjoyed the Royal Rumble because of the Royal Rumble. I always mark out for the Rumble.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I mostly mark out for the Royal Rumble, but the last few years it has very much been okay, I know who's winning this, which I like the random nature of it, but the last few years there hasn't been any randomness. It's always been, yep, Mr. Reigns is winning this, yep, Mr. Cena's winning that. Ooh, no surprise there.
So what did you think? We'll go into the individual matches in a minute. We'll break down the card. But your overall thoughts on SummerSlam, if you were scoring it out of 10, what would you give it?
Oh, I really struggle with this because part of me says, there were some really good matches. But another part of me goes, this pay-per-view was a mess. What are you doing? So, I'm really struggling here. I'm going to have to say a 6 because it had some really good matches, but some of the pacing and the order of some of the matches and some of the endings were just wrong. I'm going to go more into that in a minute. But yeah, the pacing and a lot about this pay-per-view was just wrong, which is a shame because a lot of the wrestlers obviously did really well to work the show. Okay,
well, I'll give it a 7, right? So we'll start with the first match of the night. We won't talk about the pre-show because nobody cares. We had the aforementioned Enzo and Cass, my daughter's favourite team. They squared up against Jericho, which of course is Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. And of course, the villains got the win because Enzo and Cass were in their hometown, and Vince McMahon hates giving the win to the hometown boys.
He does, but still, I'd have to say, Enzo and Cass did what they did really well. I think it's quite cool to notice that I believe the last pay-per-view as well, they came out and they were the opening match. So they're clearly being recognised for their talent. You know what? If you want to warm up the crowd, send out Enzo and Cass.
Now, what do you think of Enzo and Cass? Because obviously, back in our generation, when we were watching it a lot, and you had Stone Cold and The Rock, and you had a lot of people that were good on the mics. Now, Enzo and Cass stand out at the moment because there's not that many people who are necessarily great on the mic. But we had the New Age Outlaws, right? And then we had DX, and we had the whole, we got 2 words for you, and they reeled off their catchphrases. So I should technically love Enzo and Cass, but I'm not sure I do.
Yeah, I do get the comparison there because they do remind me a lot of the New Age Outlaws. You've got one who's great on the mic and kind of an alright wrestler, and then you've got one who is a kind of clothesline, punch, kick, clothesline, punch, kick, which is of course Cass. I'm struggling to see where they can go with Enzo and Cass because they already, obviously we're mentioning this out of order, they already seem to have split them up as a tag team,
But do you like them as a team?
Not really. I mean, they're okay.
So you don't like the whole "my name is Enzo Amore," the whole spiel at the beginning, certified G, bona fide stud, all that?
Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that they get the crowd participation going, the fact they can get the crowd going. But once they're in the ring, they're fighting. I just don't really see. It's just not that entertaining. I don't know if they've had bad opponents or they haven't really had a good push as a tag team yet. But maybe it's the fault of the whole tag team division. I don't know. But, Jericho, again, here's the problem. You've got Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. Obviously, we're talking about this out of order as well. They already seem to have been broken up as a tag team. What was the point?
Well, it was just so they could watch each other's backs, really, wasn't it? That was the storyline. And I think Chris Jericho has reinvented himself again amazingly.
Yeah, he's just great at this, isn't he? I think Chris Jericho, he's one of the more experienced wrestlers on the card at the moment, isn't he? I'd like to think that he is kind of... I know he's not that old, but I'd like to think he's the kind of experienced worker, kind of giving ideas and passing on his experience to some of the younger guys. And if he's been able to do that to pass on some of his experience to someone like Kevin Owens, I mean, let's face it, Chris Jericho, he works as the heel, he works as the good guy. He's just all-round great talent. So, yeah, the longer he stays around, the better.
Well, obviously the crowd weren't happy that Jericho won the match. They were even unhappier after the next match, which was for the WWE Women's title, where Sasha Banks defended against Charlotte. Now, interesting factoid for you here, Dave, and I don't know if you realise this, or if you caught it on the commentary, but Charlotte, leading into SummerSlam, had won her last 11 consecutive pay-per-view matches.
That's quite a record, isn't it?
So it's now 12, and she defeated Sasha Banks in this match. Now, the fans weren't happy at the time. It came to pass, and the news was revealed after the match, that Sasha Banks had a number of niggling injuries and had asked for some time off, which is all fine, except for the ridiculous amount of stupid bumps she took in that match that could have killed her.
Yeah, there were a few spots in that match where I thought, did she just land on her head? Is she doing that? I was wondering whether it's her wrestling style or is it just botched moves, and I think it's her style, isn't it?
That one move in the corner where Charlotte knocked her legs out from underneath her and she came down on the back of her neck was not pretty.
Yeah, it's no wonder she's been injured. I hope there's someone out back who's just going to say, look, just calm it down a bit, change your style a little bit, because we don't want those kind of injuries.
Well, apparently Vince McMahon was already down on her a bit, thinking she was injury prone before that match, so we'll wait and see what happens there. So the crowd were not impressed at this point. So the next match on the card was The Miz, who defended his title, the Intercontinental Championship, of course, against Apollo Crews. And, of course, The Miz won, which meant, so far, we were 3 for 3 on heel wins.
Which isn't a great record, is it? And if I'm being honest, I kind of switch off when The Miz comes out anyway. I know they're trying to push him as, being a champion, a long-standing champion. He's having a long title reign. I just kind of switch off. He's kind of something and nothing for me. It's amazing to believe that he headlined and won at WrestleMania. What?
But did you see the promo that he cut 2 nights later?
What, with Daniel Bryan?
Yes.
Yeah, that was kind of harsh.
We're kind of skipping forward a bit, but 2 nights after SummerSlam, on the post-SmackDown Live talk segment, which is called Talking Smack, which is presented by Daniel Bryan and Renee Young. The Miz was the guest on there. Daniel Bryan basically punked him out and said that he wrestled like a coward, to which The Miz... Did I say CM Punk a minute ago? I think I did. I meant The Miz. So anyway, The Miz is on there. He lost his shit and went on to... Nobody really knows whether it was a shoot promo or a work shoot promo, but he basically bitched out Daniel Bryan, told him that he was the coward because if he really wanted to wrestle, then he would quit the WWE and go and wrestle in bingo halls, and that he wrestled a safe style, which meant that he can still wrestle when Daniel Bryan couldn't because he wrestles a more high risk form of wrestling, which is why he's injured. What did you think of that promo?
I thought it was awesome promo. I love to see this kind of real stuff. Now, I also read a couple of reports on the net the day after that said WWE hasn't closed the door on Daniel Bryan wrestling again.
I really hope that's not true.
Yeah, but you know what? I think Daniel Bryan's in the commissioner role, or whatever you want to call it.
He's the general manager. Shane's the commissioner.
Okay, he's in the general manager role now, and you've got to have this kind of character. There's going to be people saying this kind of stuff, and maybe he got carried away in the promo. I don't know, but for me as well, surely the general manager of any show has got to can't take that kind of stuff lying down.
Well, the thing is, you would imagine that would lead to maybe a heel turn by Daniel Bryan, who then throws everything he can at the Miz to take the IC title off him. But on this week's Talking Smack, he basically just apologises.
Yeah, which I don't understand. I mean, I know Daniel Bryan's kind of like almost being the nice guy, but it is a bit strange. It's like they have this great promo, but it's not really going anywhere.
So, going back to SummerSlam, and we have the fourth match of the night, which saw AJ Styles defeat John Cena clean in the middle of the ring. Not only did he win the match, but he kicked out of an AA from the top rope, and is now being positioned as a big deal following this match, because he is on the SmackDown Live after SummerSlam. He was announced as Dean Ambrose's new #1 contender, and after the match, John Cena left his wristband in the ring, hinting at a possible retirement, because obviously that's what The Undertaker did when he lost the streak. He put his gloves in the ring, blah, blah, blah. And AJ Styles has been wearing that wristband round his head in a real dick heel move ever since.
You know what, though? For a start, when they had that attitude adjustment off the top rope, and John Cena went to cover him after that, I was thinking, that's it, it's over. You have someone kick out from the big baby face's finishing move off the top rope. There's no, but yeah, he kicked out, and I have to give it to both of these guys. And me and you both love to hate John Cena.
I was going to say that, right, because obviously we both are real down on John Cena all the time. We hate John Cena, but he actually really impressed me in that match, because he reeled off a load of moves I've never seen him do.
Yeah, likewise. I thought this was probably the match of the night.
It's probably not only match of the night, it was probably one of the best matches John Cena's ever been in.
Yeah, and I do like this place though. Part of the reason I feel I've been down on John Cena for so long is because in years gone by, he was main event. He was beating all these people, He was beating Triple H, he was beating Kurt Angle, he was beating Batista, he was beating Edge. All these people, I thought he doesn't deserve to beat these people. I didn't feel like he deserved to be in the spot he was in, and yet now he's in the mid card more often than not, and he's doing some really good matches. I have to say, his matches with Kevin Owens last year were in the same kind of position, were awesome. His match with Rusev at WrestleMania not so long ago was pretty good. I feel like John Cena is actually kind of redeeming himself for me in the mid-card position. And this was a really good match, and I was really surprised and happy about the result.
So what do you think about the positioning of AJ now?
Oh, awesome. AJ Styles would make a great champion, but also I think he's going to make a pretty good competitor for Dean Ambrose. I think they can make a pretty good match. So I'd be very surprised if AJ Styles didn't come away with the belt, put it that way.
Well, we'll wait and see on that one. But that was the fourth match of the night, and the fourth heel win. Although this time, obviously, the fans were a lot happier because hashtag beat up John Cena.
Well, that's the problem here, isn't it? Okay, AJ Styles was technically the heel in this match, but fans wanted to see AJ Styles win instead of John Cena.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But just for the purposes of statistics as we're going through, it was 4 wins out of 4 for heels.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. 4 wins for the bad guys.
Which I don't remember happening in quite some time on a pay. In fact, I don't ever remember watching a pay-per-view where we were almost halfway through and no faces have won.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, does it?
No. So anyway, the next match, match 5, was a bit of a throwaway, and it was another heel win as Gallows and Anderson beat the New Day by DQ after Big E returned. The only sort of real thing to say about this match was the fact that Jon Stewart was in it.
Yeah, for me, this match, I think it suffered because the fans were clearly they'd come up to a real big high, AJ Styles and John Cena, and then New Day come out to try and pump them up again. I think the crowd was suffering from a lack of energy at this point.
Plus, it had Jon Stewart in it.
Yeah, Jon Stewart. I think, he's great he used to be great on the Daily Show, but I don't think that in the middle of the ring is his place. And they've
also just made an absolute joke out of Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah, which is a waste.
Yeah.
They came in as obviously the club. What are they doing? I want to see. I love the New Day as champions. I mean, New Day's long championship reign, but we need to have some proper competition and some proper feuds because they keep on having these little feuds. First they had it with the Wyatt family, now they're having it with the club, and we just kind of fizzle out into nothing. So I want to see some proper matches there.
Match number 6 was the most unbelievable and quite possibly boring WWE champion of all time, Dean Ambrose, defending his title against Dolph Ziggler, which he did successfully, which means obviously he's the champion. It was an alright match, but let's be honest, did anyone really think Dolph Ziggler was winning?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think you're being a bit unfair to Dean Ambrose there, though.
I'm not a big Dean Ambrose fan, I will admit that. I just find his character is dull, bland, boring. Some of the moves that he does, like that one move where he bounces off the ropes and swings over the second rope and comes back with a clothesline, is just a ridiculous... I mean, that is a move that is people's elbow levels of ridiculousness.
It is, and I think he's done it a bit much now. I think Dean Ambrose, I do like his character, and when he won the championship, I thought, you know what, he's made it. He's looking good. He's looking like a good champion, and he's up at that position. But now I think he needs to work on his moveset. He needs to work on his character, get himself some kind of catchphrase, and work on his image again. He needs to reinvent himself.
Well, the thing is with Dean Ambrose, he's called the Lunatic Fringe, right? But he isn't very lunatic, and I know he's got a problem because it's all PG and stuff, but when you're using the word lunatic, I just automatically compare him to Brian Pillman.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Brian Pillman was mad as a box of frogs. Well, he wasn't obviously mad as a box of frogs, but that character, the loose cannon, was unbelievably, awesomely crazy. And Dean Ambrose is nowhere near that level, and this my fault, not his, but I just don't particularly like him.
Yeah, I would like to see him be a bit more crazy, but do you know why one big problem with this match?
Go on.
What is the champion, the WWE Championship, doing halfway through the card?
Well, I think it shows you where their priorities lie.
It does, and I understand that the main, Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton, okay, that can be the main event. That's a big match. But for me, the championship goes last. And this is showing exactly the problem. CM Punk, he left WWE. He always had a problem. He was given the championship, but more often than not, it was put as the second or third to last match. And this is again showing you've got messed up priorities. Dean Ambrose had just won the championship. He needs to be shown as being the guy. And you've got him almost halfway through the card. It's devaluing your championship. So, at least put it as the joint main event with Brock Lesnar. You know, it is just bad placing of a match, if you ask me.
Well, the next matchup was the women's six-lady tag team match, where it was supposed to have Eva Marie in it, but of course she's been suspended for failing her wellness policy, along with Alberto Del Rio and Paige, and by all accounts Alberto Del Rio has left again.
Do you think he'll be back?
No, he's gone. Apparently he's Kaputski. His contract's up in September anyway. He's not coming back.
Well, he should stop going to parties then, shouldn't he?
Yeah. So Eva Marie was suspended, which brought about the return of Nikki Bella, who was supposed to be on the heel team, but she got cheered like a face. And again, the heels won. So far, we've only had one face win on the entire card.
And that was Dean Ambrose, which, again, if you ask me, the crowd at this point was still suffering from a kind of, oh, okay, we've had a really good match, we're just kind of, we're just happy to sit down and watch for a bit. And like I said before, Dean Ambrose, the championship, it went before a six-man women's tag team match. What's the story there?
Speaking of Nikki Bella, by the way, she turned face on the next episode of SmackDown Live when she was attacked by Carmella, who was turning heel. So it was kind of a double turn, but not in the same sort of caliber as Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the ultimate double turn, isn't it?
So, after the women's match, we had the unveiling of the Universal Championship, which the crowd crapped all over the belt. They did not like it.
It looks rubbish. The best description I've heard of this belt is it looks like someone made it in the creative part of one of the WWE computer games. It just looks awful. They could have tried for something a bit more unique, couldn't they?
Well, anyway, the fans crapped all over it so badly that the first 10 minutes of the match, all you could hear was chants about the title belt.
I didn't hear those. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I had the sound turned down low. But didn't even Seth Rollins tweet about this as well?
Seth Rollins was not happy. He said the crowd let him down. But speaking of the match, we had the Demon King, Finn Balor, versus Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins, now, Dave, I'm about to say a sentence which is probably a little bit harsh, and then you can respond. But Seth Rollins, true to form, injured somebody else. Do you think Seth Rollins is dangerous?
I don't think Seth Rollins himself is dangerous. I think he's got a couple of dangerous moves.
Bearing in mind, he broke John Cena's nose, retired Sting, and now he's almost crippled Finn Balor.
Say he retired Sting like that's a bad thing.
It would have been nice to see Sting have a big bow-out retirement match rather than having to sort of scuttle off into the darkness because Seth Rollins crippled him.
Yeah, you're true. Yeah, you have a very good point there. It would have been nice to see Sting have another WrestleMania match. I think you've got a point. He clearly, again, we're saying this is a guy who clearly needs to work on his moveset.
That turnbuckle powerbomb needs to be outlawed.
It does. The turnbuckle powerbomb, and especially the turnbuckle powerbomb, doing it outside on the edge of the ring. Now, if you watch where Finn Balor got injured, he does put his arm back to stop himself at a particularly awkward moment. So, I don't know, maybe he wasn't falling correctly, but in the replay on SmackDown this week, Raw it was, where they say, you can see Finn Balor pop his arm back into its socket there. It's like, yeah, that's can we just think about the dichotomy here of, here's Finn Balor, he's broken his arm, and he's popping it back into his socket. And there's the last match tonight where someone's just bleeding a bit.
We'll get to that shortly, Dave.
Yeah, okay. But you understand the kind of how this doesn't make sense there of when do you stop a match, when do you not. But yeah, we'll get to that.
So anyway, Finn Balor carried on the match after separating his shoulder and popping it back in, as you said, and he became the first ever Universal Champion. Now, unfortunately, as we've alluded to, Seth Rollins, with that powerbomb, has put Finn Balor on the shelf for 6 months, which meant the following night on Raw, he basically gave up the title, and they then had a series of matches to decide who would be in a fatal 4-way to crown a new Universal Champion. Although this week on Raw, and we won't go into the match yet and who won it, but Stephanie twice said that the winner of that match would be the first Universal Champion. It was almost like they were Benoit in Finn Balor's title reign for some reason.
Maybe they're just saying it incorrectly, because, really they should be saying, maybe they're just trying to big it up as, okay, this is going to be, okay, we failed the first time because he had to retire, because he's had to go off on injury. This time it's going to be real again. They're not saying, we're going to crown the second ever, But maybe they should have been saying, we're going to crown the vacant champion.
Yeah, so speaking of that 4-way, it came down to Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Big Cass of Enzo and Cass, and Kevin Owens, but we'll get to that shortly. Speaking of Roman Reigns, he was in the penultimate match of the SummerSlam card, where he was supposed to battle Rusev for the US Championship. Now, the match never started because Rusev attacked Roman Reigns, rightly so, because Roman Reigns did ruin his wedding celebration and insulted his bride. The two of them brawled, and Rusev got badly injured and couldn't compete. Now, had this angle been done on its own, and then the last match had been a match, then that would have been fine. But with this non-finish and what was to come later, it was a bit of overkill.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and exactly as I'm talking about as badly placed matches in the card, this should have been maybe second, third match, something like that. I mean, let's face it, the fans probably, there was a proper pop and a reaction when Roman Reigns speared Rusev on the ramp. But either way, if this was still on its own, earlier on in the card maybe, that would have been okay. But also, I actually would have liked to have seen Roman Reigns do a turn at this point. Maybe he could have, the woman, what's her name? Rusev's wife.
Lana.
Yeah, maybe Lana could have tried to get in front of him, and Roman Reigns could have pushed her to the side and turned heel that way, or something like that. Or maybe even have Roman Reigns chuck him in and then insist the match start and pin him anyway to become the champion. Because for me, this was a wasted match as well. It's just a wasted match, and to see again that actually this feud hasn't been continued, they've just put Roman Reigns in the mix with the Universal title, it's another feud that's fizzled out. What's going on with it?
Yeah, well, who knows? This leads us on to the main event of SummerSlam. Now, the whole pay-per-view was built around the fact that Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar had never had a singles pay-per-view match in the 15 years since they broke into the business together. Now, that was a hell of a class that broke in at that time, by the way, because it had Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, John Cena, and Batista in it.
Well, that is, they call, I think one of the commentators said that it was the greatest ever class, and you kind of have difficulty arguing against that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So the match was Brock Lesnar, the Beast incarnate, Suplex City, against Randy Orton, RKO out of nowhere, and Viperville. The match started, and Brock Lesnar basically was destroying Randy Orton in the same way that he did 2 years ago at SummerSlam against John Cena. Randy Orton then got some offense in. He hit an RKO on the table. He did the draping DDT, hit another RKO. Brock Lesnar kicked out. Now here is where things took a turn for the unexpected, because what happened next confused people, because no one was really sure whether it was supposed to be happening. No one was sure whether Brock Lesnar had just decided, screw this, I'm going to go into business for myself. And it even got to the point where the wrestlers in the back who weren't aware of the storyline and the planned finish of the match thought that it was real. Chris Jericho, I'm looking at you. So what am I talking about? Well, Brock Lesnar took off his MMA gloves and then battered the crap out of Randy Orton, busting him open for real with an elbow, which was such a deep gash it took 10 staples to close the wound. The match was called off as a TKO. Brock Lesnar was given the win, and Randy Orton was left lying in a pool of his own blood.
It was weird to watch. I had a lot of different feelings about this match. I was kind of thinking, I was liking what it was leading up to. It was just becoming an interesting match. I thought maybe Randy Orton appeared to be a bit too weak and Brock Lesnar a bit too strong. So I would have liked to have seen it be a bit more even. I think it's Randy Orton, for goodness sake. I mean, I know they let Brock Lesnar absolutely dominate John Cena a few years back, but this is Randy Orton. This is the Viper, and he should have got in a bit more offense. It should have been a bit more of an even match and a longer match. But I think, like a lot of people, when Brock Lesnar decided to just sit on him and start battering his head, I was thinking, what's going on? And when the doctor ran in, I was thinking, okay, well, surely you're just going to patch him up and they're going to continue. But then another part of me in my head was thinking that the WWE don't do this now. It's PG.
Especially when you consider the fact they're being sued by loads of wrestlers for concussions.
Exactly. And, so part of me was thinking, is this real? Has Brock Lesnar just kind of thought, well, you know what, I'm about to be banned, and you guys don't ban me, I'm just going to do what I want, and I'm just going to batter the guy. I don't know.
Well, you weren't the only one that was confused, because Brock Lesnar went back through the camera, and Chris Jericho was at the gorilla position where he'd been asking whoever it was that was at the table, Kevin Dunn maybe, he was asking him, what's going on? Was that the planned finish? Now, Vince and Kevin Dunn didn't want to give anything away, so they didn't say anything. So when Brock Lesnar came back through the curtain, Chris Jericho got in his face and was trying to punk him out for basically what he did to Randy Orton. Now, Brock Lesnar's not going to take that sitting down, is he? He basically said, either punch me or kiss me, at which point Triple H got involved and pushed them away, and Vince came up and said to Jericho, it's a work, damn it, what's the matter with you? So it wasn't just the fans that were confused, the wrestlers themselves were confused as well, because as you say, this was not what the WWE do now.
But do you think, okay, here's this possibility, what if it was a work, but similar to the way, going back a long time ago, when The Rock and, hit Mankind with a chair, and Mankind had his hands tied behind his back, and it was supposed to be 2 chair shots, which turned into, 17? Might explain a few of those missing Mick Foley brain cells. Maybe this was a work where Brock Lesnar got a little bit carried away.
Well, he was only supposed to graze him, not gash his head so bad you could practically see his brain.
Yeah, that's it. You see, in the replay, you see Brock Lesnar basically punching Randy Orton's head with his elbow, and then you see the gash in the pictures afterwards. It's a deep gash. You can practically see his skull, like you said. And this isn't what WWE does now. But also, I'm thinking, part of me is thinking, yes, no way. When has a WWE match ever finished in TKO? I defy Vince, anyone, to look back in the WWE's records and say, okay, there's been people who have had injuries and accidents, and obviously, sometimes a match has to stop, okay? We understand that. But when that happens, the match just ends. There's no official announcement. There's never been a match with a TKO.
I think the closest I can think of would be, is it WrestleMania 13 where Stone Cold passed out in a pool of his own blood? In the sharpshooter.
And maybe that's what they're going for. But
right, here's a question for you then, right? In fact, 2 questions. First of all, Brock Lesnar, he carried on beating up Randy Orton, who was selling the fact that he was like bleeding like a stuck pig, because he was. Shane McMahon came down, Brock Lesnar was like, yeah, screw this, gave an F5 to Shane McMahon. Since then, the Raw commissioner, Stephanie McMahon, has fined him $500, and Shane McMahon, the SmackDown commissioner, said that he's not finished with Brock Lesnar. So, 2 questions for you. Number 1, do you think that they are going to eventually have a Shane McMahon versus Brock Lesnar match, which I really hope they don't? And number 2, where do they go from here with Brock Lesnar? And what I mean by that is, he ended the streak. He absolutely decimated John Cena. He absolutely decimated Roman Reigns. He absolutely decimated Dean Ambrose. And now he's absolutely decimated Randy Orton. So whenever he goes into a match now, you're just looking at it going, there's absolutely no way the person he's fighting is going to win. So where do they go from here, and who do you think could end Brock Lesnar's monster push?
I think it's a good question there. I think I did more recently here. I listened to Chris Jericho's podcast when he had Dean Ambrose on. And I think you might have mentioned it a few weeks back. Dean Ambrose was talking about his match at WrestleMania with Brock Lesnar. And he said the problem he had with Brock Lesnar was that Dean Ambrose wanted it to be a big, epic match, an absolutely crazy match. Dean Ambrose would go to Brock Lesnar and make all these suggestions, and Brock Lesnar would be like, whatever. And basically, Dean Ambrose just said Brock Lesnar was being lazy about it. He just wanted it to be a base, which, I can understand. Dean Ambrose, it's his WrestleMania moment. But is Brock Lesnar just there for the money now? Now he's had these matches, is it getting a bit tiring? Now, look, I think similar to you, there's no way I want to see Brock Lesnar versus Shane McMahon. Because if they show Shane McMahon having any kind of offense in there, that's just offensive. I mean, how could you have Shane McMahon go in and beat and have a chance against the Beast when your top guys have failed terribly in the last 3 years? It would just be ridiculous. But here's my counter idea. What I would like to see, and what I was hoping to see, I know this isn't going to happen. Brock Lesnar goes in, F5's Shane McMahon. Daniel Bryan comes in to rescue him. So what we end up with at WrestleMania next year is Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. That would be a WrestleMania match.
That's never happening, man. And if Daniel Bryan was to ever come back, Brock Lesnar is the last person on earth he should be fighting.
I'd agree with you there, but I think that would be an absolutely awesome match. That's what I'm rooting for WrestleMania. Now, what I think should happen is, obviously, they're suggesting Randy Orton's going to have a feud with Bray Wyatt now. But, I don't know, Royal Rumble or WrestleMania next year, there needs to be a rematch.
Well, there is going to be a rematch in a week or so at a live show.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. But the thing is now, is that it's literally the WWE roster and then Brock Lesnar. And to put it in sort of a video game analogy, which I think I did a couple of weeks ago, Brock Lesnar is now the end of game baddie. He is like King Koopa in Mario, in that you go through, if you're a wrestler like Dean Ambrose, for instance, you go through Roman Reigns, you go through Seth Rollins, you win the title, you're the champ, but it doesn't matter because everybody knows if you go up against Brock Lesnar, you're going to get your ass handed to you. So I don't see anyone on the current roster who would be a logical person to beat that end of game boss.
No, because I can't imagine Brock Lesnar actually wanting to lie down for anyone either. I mean, even then, think about people they could bring out of retirement for him. Shawn Michaels, Goldberg.
People were cheering for Goldberg to come out of SummerSlam, but what would Goldberg have done? Let's be honest, when they had their match back in 2003, Goldberg was kind of coming towards the end of his prime then anyway. Brock Lesnar's in his prime now. If Goldberg came out, realistically, Brock Lesnar would just kill him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And it's a fact as well that Brock Lesnar brings that legit quality to it. He's like, I've gone to UFC, I've beaten the hell out of people, now I'm back in WWE, I take a big paycheck, and I beat the hell out of people. I mean, you do get the impression that he does not give a shit. And I think that's, he likes beating people up. It's what he does.
Well, all the rules are different for Brock Lesnar, aren't they? Because he doesn't get drug tested on the wellness policy because he's part-time. And, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, he basically said to Heath Slater, live on Raw, I don't give a shit about your kids. Now, if any other wrestler went out there and dropped the S-bomb, they would be suspended. I mean, look at Titus O'Neil. He was suspended for 60 days for putting his hands on Vince just to let Stephanie go through. You imagine how badly somebody would get treated if they dropped the S-bomb.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he's Brock Lesnar. That's why he's been paid that much money. And you know what? That's probably CM Punk is hoping that he can win a few matches, come back and get paid a lot of money.
I don't think CM Punk could ever be the killer that Brock Lesnar is, though.
No, he's not. He's not. You know, he's. I don't think we've ever seen anyone like Brock Lesnar in the WWE.
I should prefix this by the way, saying I am still a Brock Lesnar fan, and I enjoy watching him beat people up because it's so different to everything else on the card.
Yeah, the same here. I think you never know quite what to expect when you watch the Brock Lesnar match. You never know whether you're going to get. It's almost like the Undertaker at WrestleMania now. You're almost kind of thinking, okay, they've gone in a little bit of offense. They're fighting back a little bit. Oh, Brock Lesnar's on his knees. Could they do it? Could they do it? I mean, fair play. Even back at WrestleMania last year, even when Roman Reigns, which we hated Roman Reigns, even when towards the end of the match, when he started getting in a little bit of offense, even the crowd was like, oh, can he do it? Can he do it? Is he going to do it? So someone is going to do it at some point. I remember one of Brock Lesnar's greatest matches, which is still a terrific match to this day. People go and find it on YouTube or WWE Network, whatever. Eddie Guerrero versus Brock Lesnar. Do you remember that match, Stu?
I do, yes.
How good a match was that?
Funny you should mention Eddie Guerrero. I was showing my daughter old videos of his during his lying, cheating, stealing phase, and she was loving it.
Well, he was great. It was just a great character, and the fact that his in-ring ability took him that far as well. That's why I could almost see Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar having such an awesome WrestleMania match. But
right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Out of the current roster of all the people you know, right, obviously not including people that have already been destroyed by Brock Lesnar, pick a name. Who's going to end the Brock Lesnar monster push?
Okay. Can I give you two possibilities?
Go on then.
Finn Balor, AJ Styles.
Hey, you picked two of the smallest people on the entire roster.
They are two of the smallest people, but there's no one else of such. Even if you look at the big characters, you look at Mark Henry.
Well, more like Braun Strowman.
Yeah, Braun Strowman. He just hasn't got the wrestling talent, and we're going to get to it in a minute as well. In the Fatal 4-Way on Raw this week, Big Cass was in a match. What did he do? He just kicked people in the face.
Well, he's the new Diesel, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the new Diesel. He just run off the ropes, boot to the face. I mean, who's it seriously going to be? Is it going to be Sheamus? No. Is it going to be Bray Wyatt? No.
Tell you who it could be, Cesaro.
No. It's not going to be Cesaro. He's had one or two little pushes, but he's just being buried at the moment.
Or maybe it'll be the ultimate rub for someone who comes up from NXT.
That could be. That's why I'm saying Finn Balor, Finn Balor, AJ Styles, have them have the championship, maybe lose it, maybe they need to get it back of Brock Lesnar, but I think it needs to be someone smaller who can really work a longer match, someone who can take it to that point where Eddie Guerrero did, where they genuinely seem like they're tiring out Brock Lesnar. I don't know. Other than that, it just would have to be someone coming back from retirement for the big match. Yeah, The Rock's always back for WrestleMania, isn't he?
I'd actually pay to watch Brock Lesnar kill The Rock.
Yeah, I'd quite like that actually. Yeah, have The Rock announce his comeback for the Royal Rumble. and Brock Lesnar just goes in and destroys him. It's like, yeah, I'd pay to watch that.
So, moving swiftly on, we'll just quickly skip over it. That was SummerSlam. You gave it 6, I gave it 7. They had the matches. They came up with the Fatal 4. So this week on Raw, they had the Fatal 4-Way. It was Big Cass, it was Seth Rollins, it was Roman Reigns, and it was Kevin Owens. And the surprise winner of the Universal Championship was Mr. Kevin Owens. Now, the surprise is that he had the assistance of Triple H, who made his return after months away. And Triple H screwed Stephanie's guy, Seth Rollins. So what did you think of that?
Obviously, it was pretty surprising. As a match, I thought it was an okay match. I thought Big Cass was a little bit disappointing as a wrestler, as I already said. Roman Reigns was, as expected, disappointing as a wrestler. He did his Ultimate Warrior impression, where he did clothesline. Oh, I'm going to do my finisher now. I'm going to do the Superman punch,
which he did about 20 times.
Yeah, he needs to get. Somebody needs to give him some wrestling lessons, man. I mean, seriously, that's one of the reasons why I'm hating Roman Reigns at the moment.
Okay, so what did you think of Triple H assisting Kevin Owens? Where do you think that's leading?
I have no idea.
Do you think it could possibly be Triple H siding with like the NXT guys because he got overlooked for the commissionership or GM of Raw?
It could be, couldn't it? Or it could be him just saying, you know what, Seth, you've let me down. You've taken my pedigree, and you haven't been able to get the championship. So I've moved on to Kevin Owens. I think it's good that they put the belt on someone unexpected. I don't think anyone actually thought Kevin Owens would win, but I think it's working up to a Seth versus Triple H match
at next year's WrestleMania, which apparently is also going to include Big Show's retirement match against Shaq and potentially Shane McMahon versus Brock Lesnar. So that'll be something to look forward to, won't it?
Oh yeah, Shane McMahon versus Brock Lesnar. I know. Let's see Brock Lesnar chuck him off the Empire State Building, something like that.
Yeah, and that was our extended look at SummerSlam and the current state of the WWE. It's a very interesting time, and we will be watching to see what happens. Now, Dave, before we move swiftly on and just cover a quick couple of bits of movie news, I had my phone here, and something's just come up on Facebook that apparently the Crystal Maze is set to return to our TV screens.
Oh, awesome. You know what? I love watching some replays of that on various digital channels.
Well, get a load of this, Dave. I think you're going to cream your Geek Boy pants in a minute.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's returning for a one-off at the moment as part of the Stand Up for Cancer Channel 4 comedy night that they have every year.
Excellent.
And if it does well in the ratings, they could commission a series. It is going to be hosted by, not Richard O'Brien, it is going to be hosted by David Tennant.
Cool. David Tennant. Very good. He's always entertaining.
Who should be better than Ed Tudor-Pole, who was the last host.
Oh, yeah, he was awful.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was just a quick one that we will be getting the Crystal Maze, possibly for a new series with ex-Doctor Who actor David Tennant. Which brings us quickly to this week's movie news.
From the furthest reaches of the geek universe, it's the World of Stew News.
We're just going to cover a couple of little bits because we have been chopsing for ages about SummerSlam. Did you see the news that Dwayne Johnson is now the highest earning movie star of 2015?
What's he been in this year?
Well, he was in, obviously, Fast and Furious, which took over $1 billion. He was in Collateral Damage, which I don't know how they work out. Anyway, he earned $64.5 million last year.
Well, you know what?
Oh, San Andreas was his other big film last year.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, you know what? He's working hard. He's doing a lot of films, so fair play to the guy. I don't think he's ever going to win any awards, but he's good at what he does.
Speaking of Johnson and WrestleMania, as we just were, did you see the news about the spat that he had on set with Vin Diesel?
No, I didn't.
We had a big spat on the set of Fast and Furious 8 with Vin Diesel, and he tweeted that, you know, some people are a bunch of pussies or something and they need to man up. Apparently this has been rumoured that this could be leading to a WrestleMania match between the two.
Seriously?
Yes.
Well, you know, I think I forget which Fast and Furious film it is. I think it's 4 or 5 or 6, whichever one it is. You see Vin Diesel's character, Rock, they have to have a fight. And the thing is, you see Vin Diesel and think, oh yeah, he's a big guy, he's pretty big and muscly. And then you see him next to a Rock, and you think, he's tiny, man. The Rock is huge in those films. And they have a fight, and of course, it being Fast and Furious, Vin Diesel's character wins. And you just think, there's no way. Not only is the Rock character 3 times the size of him, and just built like a Grand Canyon, but he's like, you know, an elite FBI home defense agent guy who would be awesome at self-defense. And yet Vin Diesel's guy is like, hey, I'm a mechanic, I drive cars really fast, okay? Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
I suppose because WrestleMania is just a couple of weeks before the release of Fast and Furious 8, so obviously they could tie it in there. Now, if they want to do movie tie-ins, they could always tie it into Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and get Vin Diesel to get his buddy Batista to come in and sub for him. We could see Batista versus Rock, maybe. Yeah, but anyway, that was beside the point. BBC Culture have collected together the opinions of reviewers, academics and cinema curators from every continent except Antarctica, which seems a bit harsh to me, to compile the top 10 films of the 21st century. And here's a quick rundown of the top 5. At number 5, you've got Boyhood. Number 4, Spirited Away. Number 3, There Will Be Blood. Number 2, In the Mood for Love. And the number 1 film of the 21st century is apparently Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, those are all perfectly decent films, but I think this kind of shows that sometimes when you take a poll of too many people, or the wrong people, or whatever, you just end up with really weird results. In Mulholland Drive, I've seen that film, it makes absolutely no sense.
But it is David Lynch.
It is David Lynch, but it makes no sense whatsoever.
I've rewatched Twin Peaks. Most of that doesn't make any sense.
No, absolutely. Well, this is the same kind of way. It makes no sense. You've got not even a kind of abstract way, the way that you get. I think this is a David Lynch film where you get this old couple that end up about 6 inches high and running across a Hollywood street. It's just strange. Like a lot of David Lynch films, it gets about 2/3 of the way through, and you're thinking, okay, this is a big mystery that's going to build to something. And then it just kind of feels like you've been taking drugs.
One word for you, Eraserhead.
Yeah, same thing again, Eraserhead. Makes no sense at all.
Moving on, it may now be time, Dave, to officially read the last rites to the Ghostbusters franchise. 6 weeks after its initial release, the new reboot has taken $217,701,684 at the global box office, which makes it a huge financial loss for Sony.
It does, doesn't it? With the amount it costs to make and the promotional costs, that makes it... I can't imagine they've had that many merchandise sales, if I'm being honest.
Where they failed to even break even on this film. That's how bad it's done.
Well, I know. Maybe I'll see it in investment and make another one anyway.
Probably not. And finally, in actual fact, you know what? I'm going to just mix the superhero news in with the normal movie news this week. So... the final bit of normal movie news is Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who wrote Zombieland, have revealed that the mystery cameo of Bill Murray was originally meant for somebody else.
Did they say who it was meant for?
It was meant for Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze, that could have worked as well. That could have been good, but I think it just shows what legend of Bill Murray is, but this was offered to a few people.
No, Dave. I'll stop you there, because the only reason Patrick Swayze wasn't in it was because his pancreatic cancer was kicking in quite badly at the time.
Oh, okay, I'll let him off then. I mean, that could have been great as well. But, did it actually, yeah, there weren't too many references throughout the rest of the movie to Bill Murray, were they?
No.
No. But, yeah, it worked really well with Bill Murray. I could have seen it working really well with Dirty Dancing references and stuff as well.
In superhero news, apparently Doug Liman has left Fox's Gambit project to direct Warner Brothers' Dark Universe, which will adapt the comic book series Justice League Dark. Justice League Dark is a team comprising of the likes of John Constantine, Swamp Thing, Satana, and Etrigan the Demon. Now, this obviously leaves Gambit in limbo. But my question to you is, Dave, bearing in mind the critical panning that Warner Brothers have been getting from their first 3 entries in the DCEU, do we really need a Justice League Dark film?
I don't think we do. I think they should. They're trying to run before they can walk. I mean, also, going along with this, they haven't been able to make a Hellblazer TV series work with John Constantine. So what makes them think they're going to be able to make it work in a movie? Well, I mean, in a TV series, you've got some, a TV series, even if you only have 10 episodes, you've got 10 hours of character development. You're not going to do that in a 2-hour movie, are you?
Well, I just don't see why anyone would be thinking that for instance, Guardians of the Galaxy, right? That was out of left field, so you could say that Justice League Dark is a bit out of left field, but the MCU was already completely well established before they went there, whereas the DCEU is just in tatters at the moment.
It is. It's just the DC universe is just a mess at the moment, and I did hear an interesting report actually about Justice League. It was on another kind of comic book news podcast just last week, and the report is that basically there's 3 different versions of Suicide Squad movie, and that there was a director's version and there was a studio version, and the studio wanted to go with their version of the movie, which was lighter because of the way it tested with audiences, and as a result of the backlash they got of the darkness and kind of somber mood of Batman vs Superman. So, I don't know, Doug Liman's a pretty good director. Would they just let him get on with it and produce his vision? Or would Warner Brothers just kind of get involved and just say, you know what, we want the movie we want the movie we want. So, I think the studio's kind of ruining these movies.
Well, we'll wait and see how it goes, but I'm not looking forward to it. And finally, because we've still got stuff that we need to get done, Ben Affleck has sent fanboys into a feeding frenzy after releasing footage of Deathstroke on the set of the new Justice League movie. It has been reported that Deathstroke will be the main villain in Affleck's first solo Batflick, and that a brief cameo in Justice League will help to tie the movies together. It is not known at this point who is the man behind the mask, but Joe Manganiello was rumoured for the role, and he is currently in London where the Justice League filming is taking place.
Well, who knows? Maybe they don't need to reveal who's actually in the mask yet. Maybe it's just a stuntman at the moment.
So, would you prefer to have Deathstroke as the main Bat villain, or would you think they should give the Joker some more time? No. Don't do it, Dave. Don't say it.
But surely, now they've got the Joker and Harley Quinn in there, right? They need to actually do something with it. Because if they just have a Batman movie with just Deathstroke, and they don't have Joker in it at all, it then doesn't make any sense. So I'd rather they stay true to what they've already established in this universe. Even if it's just the first 10-15 minutes is Batman going, all right, okay, Joker's free again and Harley Quinn, so I'm going to have to go capture them and wrap this up before, and then it goes into something else. So even if it's just the first 20 minutes of the movie, but I want to see that wrapped up, and maybe even some flashbacks of the Joker killing Robin. No, I want to see him stay true to it. So, you know what? I didn't like that Joker, but I want to see it. I want to see them run with it.
Okay, well, that was this week's very brief movie news.
From the furthest reaches of the geek universe, it's the World of Stew News.
So we haven't had one of these in a while, Dave. It is time for Tell Me He Didn't Just Say That. And before we get into it, I believe I'm currently 4-2 up.
You are 4-2 up. You're winning quite a bit at the moment, but I'm determined to fight back.
Okay, so here we go with this week's Tell Me He Didn't Just Say That.
Tell me he didn't just say that. Tell me he didn't just say that.
Now, this isn't the one I prepared for previous week, okay? I thought this week, you know what, I'm going to have to dedicate this to a classic, someone who we're all going to miss, obviously, and this week it's Gene Wilder, right?
Okay, shoot, fire away.
Which might give me the disadvantage, because obviously some of his movies are classics, okay? Right. I'm going to try a little bit of the impression as well, okay? So just,
Dave, you know your impressions never go well.
Okay. Hi. Stand up, cutie. Let's see your stuff. Boy, aren't you something? Look at that! Whoa, whoa, whoa. You got some hot stuff? Trouble is, I don't like girls! Okay, was that Gene Wilder in The Producers? Was that Gene Wilder in Hanky Panky? Or was it Gene Wilder in The World's Greatest Lover?
I think that was Gene Wilder in The Producers.
Incorrect.
Oh no, 1-0 to you.
That was Gene Wilder in The World's Greatest Lover.
Okay, so I need to get this next one right.
Okay. I think you might get this one, actually. Are you saying I put an abnormal brain into a 7.5 foot long, 54-inch wide gorilla? Is that what you're telling me? Was that Gene Wilder in Murder in a Small Town? Was that Gene Wilder in Scarecrow? Or was that Gene Wilder in Young Frankenstein?
Young Frankenstein.
Yes, absolutely correct.
Okay, well, can I just say I'm actually quite scared at the moment because you are frightening me, Dave.
Why am I scaring you?
Your impressions are quite manic, so maybe they're on the money, but you know. So here we go. Right, this is the third and final question. This will either be 4-3 or 5-2.
Okay, right. You should never doubt what nobody is sure about. Was that Gene Wilder in The Little Prince? Was it Gene Wilder in Blazing Saddles? Or Gene Wilder in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
I'm going to go with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Damn you.
Yes! As soon as it rhymed, I was like, yeah, that's got to be Willy Wonka.
Yeah, that was a bit of a giveaway, wasn't it? But yeah, you are right. Some classic Gene Wilder quotes there, and yeah, I was trying to be manic, but I still don't think I tried to be quite as manic as Gene Wilder. So
it is now 5-3, and you need to pull your socks up, Dave. Oh, sorry, no, it's not. It's 5-2, and you need to pull your socks up, Dave, if you're going to catch up in Tell Me He Didn't Just Say That.
I will have to try harder.
So we are coming towards the end of another episode of World of Stew, which must mean it's time for this. This week, geek. This geeky week. This week, geek. This week, geek. So Dave, what is in your week of geek?
Okay, I'll just mention comics first. Obviously, I've read a few comics in the last couple of weeks. Marvel's Civil War is still continuing. Did I mention there's also a great story in Marvel's The Uncanny Avengers? This is basically, it's been a little 4-issue story about Ultron. Ultron returns to Earth in the body of Hank Pym. Now, Hank Pym tries to convince the Avengers, hey, it's me, Hank Pym. But, me and Ultron, we've merged now. I'm Hank Pym. I'm in control. And obviously, the Avengers are a bit suspicious. It doesn't end up well, but you get some great fights. You get Deadpool fighting with Ultron. You get Cable fighting with Ultron. You get Ultron fighting with Quicksilver and Rogue. The Hulkbuster comes in, and then they're trying to throw Ultron into the sun. The Vision comes into it. It's just an awesome little 4-issue story. I think it's between the Uncanny Avengers issues 9 to 13. It's just well worth picking up if you can. It's a great story. But then something unusual which I picked up is a comic called Snot Girl.
Okay.
You did hear me correctly there, Snot Girl. The only reason I thought this was worth picking up is it's a 4-issue miniseries, I think 4 issues, and it's written by Brian O'Malley. And he might not sound familiar, but he's the guy who brought us Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim's series, of course, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Scott Pilgrim and the Infinite Sadness, and basically a series of comics, manga-esque comics, that became the Scott Pilgrim movie. And it's a bit of a bizarre series so far, only 2 issues. It focuses on a beautiful, cool girl who's she's a blogger in LA. She's really cool, she's trendy, she's on Twitter all the time, but she tried to keep it desperately secret that she's got allergy, and every so often she'll just erupt in snot and it'll go absolutely everywhere and she'll just look a mess. And there's a bit of a twist at the end of issue 1, which I'm not sure, I don't know, maybe this series is going a bit Sixth Sensey or a bit Fight Clubby, but either way it's going in an interesting direction. So, it's only going to be a 4-issue miniseries. Try and pick it up. It's from Image Comics, so it's only about £2 per issue. Brian O'Malley, always interesting. Probably going to be made into a movie, let's face it. But also, talking games, free to play at the moment on Xbox One is, I know we've talked about this already a lot today, WWE 2K16. Now, it's been a while since I've played a wrestling game, and I do believe me and you had a bit of a go at this, didn't we?
And I actually won, which was a miracle.
Yeah, you did win. We did our traditional Stu versus Dave Royal Rumble match, which you won one, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I won the other, but maybe I had a bit of an unfair advantage. But, as wrestling games go, it's pretty good. I get a bit infuriated that when you're playing against computer-controlled characters, they're just too good. But the best thing about this game is there's something called the 2K Showcase, where you start off controlling Steve Austin, the legendary Steve Austin, and you play through some of his classic matches. So you play against Bret Hart at Survivor Series, you play against Bret Hart in I Quit match at WrestleMania 13, you play against Shawn Michaels, you play against Owen Hart, and in between all these matches it's got some great little video clips of classic Steve Austin moments. So this is the section of this game I'm really loving at the moment. It's just awesome. And just thinking about TV, you may remember I mentioned it a long time ago now, Mr. Robot, one of my favourite TV series at the moment. I just watched the first series again with my lady wife Tamsin, so that I could start watching the second series, which started all of 7 or 8 weeks ago. I've just watched the first episode of Series 2. I think it's looking pretty good so far. If you don't remember, it's a TV series basically about a hacker who's trying to hack the biggest company in the world, which he's now managed to do, which has created a global collapse of the economy. And this second series is moving on from there, so it can be interesting to see what happens. But Christian Slater was pretty cool in this, I have to say. So if you're a Christian Slater fan particularly, as my lady wife is, watch an episode, see how you get on. It's fun, and you never know quite what to expect in this series, because the main character is crazy.
Can I just interject with something that I watched this past week? And we've talked about it before, Mr. M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes.
I watched his latest effort, The Visit.
Yes, is it any good?
Which I had heard was a return to form for the man and blah blah blah. So I put it on expecting, I wasn't expecting great things because let's be honest, it is M. Night Shyamalan. And it's a basic bog. Is it as bad as The Happening? No. Is it as bad as After Earth? No. But then again, is it as good as Unbreakable? No. Is it as good as Sixth Sense? No. It's a standard horror film where two kids... It's really random because you start off with these kids and it's all sort of like shot Blair Witchy style. And their mum, who hasn't spoke to her parents in donkey's years, decides to send the kids off to spend the week with them, which is really random. And she only does this because she wants to go on a cruise, which is bad parenting. So they end up with these old people. Now, Dave, if you were a kid and you were sent to live with some old people and the granny started wandering around naked at night, scratching at the walls and then chasing you around, would you leave or would you stay for the whole week?
I think I'd be pretty certain to leave.
So anyway, they don't leave, they decide to stay, and loads of crazy stuff goes on. They find like a massive pile of shit-filled nappies because apparently the old man is incontinent. Yeah, and it turns out in the end that the old people aren't really their grandparents. It's a couple of psychiatric patients who have escaped from a hospital, killed the grandparents, stored them away in the cellar, and have basically decided to take their place. And it winds up with the little boy having a shit nappy rubbed in his face.
Oh, that's so gross.
Yeah. And then he goes a bit crazy and batters the granddad's head in with the fridge door. But yeah, it wasn't very good. Probably 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10, not really worth watching then.
No, Shyamalan just needs to jog on.
And you know what, talk about Blair Witchy films, also just last night actually I watched a film on Netflix. I watched Blackout, which is an entirely Blair Witchy type film. It's based around the idea that due to a big hacker attack, everything electric in the UK goes off. The electricity just all goes off throughout the whole of the UK, and this is the story told by everyone who kept recording. And the one really stupid thing about this film is, obviously it's in modern days, so it's people all recording stuff on their phone. And it's just really annoying in the film how people are kind of finding an excuse to record absolutely everything on their phone, no matter what situation they're in. Even at the end of the film, when some guy's like, okay, I'm looting this shop, I've got no choice, I've got to get some food for my family. And then he gets into a fight with some guy. It's like, he's still recording on his phone. Drop your phone. What are you doing? You're in a fight with some guy. You're about to get killed, and he's still got his phone. This film is okay, but it's just trying to ram its point home a bit too much. Of, hey, look, we're all so dependent on power. We're all only 2 meals away from killing our neighbour for a cheeseburger. But I'd give it about 3 out of 10. I watched it all the way through. Don't know why, to be honest. I just like that kind of Blair Witchy type film. But yeah, don't bother watching it, if I'm being honest.
Have you got back into Stranger Things yet?
I've watched the first episode. I'm still trying to find time to watch the whole thing.
Okay, so anything else in your week of geek?
The only thing, I have to say, nerd world problems, delays. I don't understand delays. You just mentioned Stranger Things, which is I found really fun because it reminded me of the 80s and that kind of romp, Goonies type film where it's a couple of kids against the world or whatever in a small American town. There was a really good comic book series that started recently called 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank. First issue came out, brilliant, fantastic. Had a bit of Dungeons and Dragons, a bit of violent, nerdy kids. Second issue came out, really good again, great. Third issue, it's been 2 months since it came out, and I'm checking online, and the last thing it said is, third issue, due out December. Like, what? What are you talking about? Third issue due out in December. Do you not plan for this kind of thing? And then, one of my favourite comic book series at the moment from Marvel, Karnak. Okay, issue 1 came out in October, at the start of all new, all different Marvel. Issue 2 came out, okay, January, there are a few delays there. Issue 3 came out a month after. They're still on issue 4! Like, October last year, in 1 year, you've done 4 issues. I understand you might have artist problems, whatever. Well, surely you can get a new artist and just... How long does it really take for an artist to draw 1 issue of 1 comic?
Oh, you're opening up a can of worms there, Dave.
Okay, because I know some people say, okay, it takes about 5 weeks. And so most artists can do, say, 3 or 4 issues, and then you need a fill-in artist to do another issue. Okay, that's fine. If you get 5 issues, and then 1 fill-in artist for 1 issue, I understand that. That's fine. But to have these kind of delays is just ridiculous. Surely it doesn't take too much organisation for a comic producer to say, okay, look, let's get 1 or 2 issues in the bag, so we can release those while the artist is working on, like, the next issue. That's fine. But to have 4 issues in 1 year, almost, is just, to be quite frank, ridiculous. I know, nerd world problems, I shouldn't be ranting like this, I should just appreciate it for what it is, but when you pre-ordered the title, and you just don't hear anything, like, yeah, it's going to come out in about 4 months' time, right? So it's like, what is it? I mean, it's not a novel, for goodness sake. Sorry, rant over. I've just kind of run out of steam on it. What can I say?
And that was your Week of Geek?
That was my Week of Geek.
By the way, just to close Week of Geek, I read first issue of All-Star Batman now. Very good. Very good. I absolutely loved it. That for me was probably one of the best Batman comics I've read probably since the Greg Capullo Scott Snyder run. I mean, for me, just the page where there's 2 particular scenes. The one where I can't remember the bad guy's name. You see him run through some tall grass, and he runs up. You see him run up from behind him. He sees Batman standing over someone, and he just kind of goes, "Oh," and then decides to run away again. This is yeah, that's great. A bad guy just decides to run away because he's seen Batman. And Nasty Alfred. Yeah, Nasty Alfred. What is going on there? What is Alfred's secret? Betraying Batman? Seriously? Going back to Karnak, by the way, the original artist had major health issues, and so the book is being taken over from issue 3 with a new artist. But obviously, yeah, I understand that was a long time ago. Roland Boschi is going to be the replacement artist who worked on Winter Soldier and Hail Hydra. But as to what... that. Because I was like, oh, okay, issue 1 and 2 they had problems, then issue 3 and 4 came out, and now issue 5 is like nowhere to be seen. It's been 2 months, and it's still scheduled for late September, early October. It's like, what's going on? It's just bizarre. It wouldn't be nearly as frustrating if it wasn't a good comic, that's what I'm saying. There are rumours that it might not run past the all-new Marvel Now, which is in October. If people are still buying it, because it's just not being released. Yeah, so anyway, that was that. That was your Week of Geek, which means we are at the end of another episode of World of Stew. So we, of course, always have a closing song. Now, I would imagine that anyone who's doing a tribute to Gene Wilder, as we started this show with, will do the... I can't remember the name of the song, but you know the one that goes, "Come with me and you'll see it's a world of pure imagination." So I would imagine everyone's going to be using that song to, you know, to celebrate the life of Gene Wilder. So we'd like to do things a little bit differently. So I've gone to the film Another You, which was the last of the films that he starred in with Richard Pryor. And in that, there's a scene where Gene Wilder does some yodeling.
Yodeling?
Yeah. The song is called Yodeline, or Yodelane, take your pick. And that is what we're going to close with. From Another You, it's Gene Wilder yodeling to the song Yodelane. Just leaves me enough time to say thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and thank you once again, Dave.
Always fun, always welcome.
We're going to leave you with that yodeling song from Another You, and we will be back with episode 65 next week. Until then, keep it geek.
Yuri? Good evening, honey. You know, as we look towards the east and see a united Deutschland, it behooves us to stop and think about what walls can do. Walls between nations, walls between peoples, and walls between you and me, Elaine. Oh, but if that darn wall in Berlin town can come down, then maybe it's not too much to expect the wall between us to come down, too. Who knows? Maybe it just takes a dance. Or a glance. Or a chance to sing a song. I call this Yodelane.
Get off the stage! Sit down!
Yodel Elaine, my heart's aflame. Yodelay, 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 yodelay. I'm not insane. Yodelay, yodelay, yodelay. You screwed my brain. Yodelay, yodelay, my Elaine. I love you. Yodelay, yodelay,
Don't tell anybody about this.